Hi, it's Dr. Syra. I wanted to talk to you today about being unapologetic. Being unapologetic. So, I was talking to a friend the other day, and we were talking about, I was reading a passage from a book that I'm reading. And this is a really interesting book. It's a book that was channeled. And so the person kind of got this download and wrote things down. And there's a few books out there with really kind of metaphysical principles that have people have gone through that process. And as I was getting through the different pieces of the book, I realized that I've kind of been hiding. So I've kind of been sitting behind this, my mind, my intellect, my brainy, whatever history, and kind of avoiding talking about some of the more metaphysical things that have been a very important part of my own personal development and journey, as well as what I do with clients. And so I wanted to bring that today a little bit and let you peek behind the curtain about what's really going on in my practice and in the work that I'm bringing to the world. And so in this passage, it talked about being called, and it seems like there's a movement that's starting to grow around people who feel like there's something bigger for them than simply the day to day, right? Simply, having fulfilling work and connected family and good health, like those things. I mean, for some of us, it takes a really long time even just to get there. What I'm interested in now is, now what, right? Now that we have kind of that life that's okay, that there's not much to complain about, that things look okay. How do we go from there now to doing the big work, to doing the spiritual, transformative, metaphysical work that's not just about our personal growth and our personal prosperity, but about the betterment of the entire planet? And I'm not necessarily talking about advocacy work or social justice work or that sort of thing. I think that's really important, and there's people who are really dedicated to that work. For me, it's more subtle. It's showing up in any space and being that person who's emanating positivity and hope and just good vibes, so that I can influence any space that I'm in. So that's what I've been experimenting with over the last year, maybe about 2 years. And I'm finding that as I commit to that, as I line up to that, I'm attracting people into my life that are on the same path. And I'm hoping to create a bigger circle, and maybe even invite you into that circle to be part of this community that's wanting to have undeniable change and impact on the state of the world's affairs. There's a lot going on. I mean, every generation says that, right? There's so much happening in our times, and there's a lot. And it's so easy to get pulled into the despair and the hopelessness and the sheer trauma of what's happening in world events, and has been happening in world events. I mean, ever since I was little, I remember being in, second or third grade and hearing about some of the terrible things that were happening around the world and the way people treated each other, and famine and despair and war. And it was like, it's always been there in my lifetime, but never directly. It's always kind of been one step removed. And I think what happens when it's one step removed, there can be a sense of hopelessness and helplessness in us, right? And I'm finding ways, and the community that I'm marinating in, we're finding ways to have impact even when there's not a direct line to the solution, right? Even when there's not a clear solution. And where that comes from for me is remembering that we are spiritual beings. We are energy beings. The essence of who we are is energy and spirit, and that is eternal. And we are having an experience here in the 3 dimensions, in this physical body, and that experience, there's some choice in that experience. Some of it doesn't feel like much of a choice. But if I remember who I am, then I have a different impact, right? then it's not about me, the person with this particular trauma history, with this particular childhood stories. It's not about that. It's me, the person in this moment. How am I shining out into the world? And I know this is a little bit different than things I've talked about before. And that's why I said you get to peek behind the curtain today in what's driving, what's behind. I think I've been a bit shy about talking about some of these things directly, because there may be people who totally don't get what I'm talking about. And that's okay. And those people will fall off. There will be people who directly disagree with what I'm saying. And that's okay too. I think there's room for a multiplicity of opinions and a multiplicity of perspectives. This is one. And this is the one for me that feels the most aligned to where I'm at in this moment in my development. And it's funny, I look back on videos I made, 10 years ago or something like that, and I think, oh wow, like I was talking about things then that I would talk about so differently today. And that's the point, right? As we grow, as we evolve, as our own understanding changes, what we talk about, what we get passionate about also changes. And what I'm passionate about right now is that alignment piece, right? Who am I? What do I want to plug into? And that's why the meditation circle is so important to me right now, because I feel like if we can develop these groups around the world of people who are putting their shared intention into bringing blessings to the planet, bringing love, bringing support, bringing hope, well, maybe we have a chance. I know there's circles doing other things. I know there's groups and organized groups and less organized groups that are actually looking at conflict and it's almost like how to make the conflict worse. It feels like in some cases, but I don't have that bone in me. The bone that I have in me is one of spreading compassion and peace and connection and a sense of community and belonging. And if you're interested in that sort of work, that's what I'll be talking about in the weeks to come. It's different than just the psychology and mental health. It's much deeper. It's much more esoteric, right? It's harder to give language to, but it's the stuff of life for me right now. So those are my thoughts. That's a little peek behind the curtain of what's happening in my development and as my work shifts. And I'm hoping that others who have a similar, maybe secret calling or yearning will show up and we'll start building something together. And what does that look like? It looks like, watching these videos, liking, subscribing, and commenting. I love comments. Give us comments. Let's start a conversation. It also looks like maybe joining our weekly meditation circle or joining our community when it's ready for launch. These are all pieces. It's like like-minded people coming together, clicking into this bigger thing so that we can really make impact. There is a world that is suffering. And if I'm not suffering, if I'm actually feeling at peace and I'm feeling aligned and I can connect with other people in that same space, maybe together we can lift the vibration, the frequency, the possibility and potential of humanity. And I know that sounds like a lofty goal, but I have lofty goals now. I'm one with lofty goals, and I'm hoping you'll join us. Thanks for watching.